I'm Ashton Addison from EventChain for Investment Pitch Media and FinTech News Network. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Ben Weiss, the COO of CoinFlip. Ben, thanks so much for taking the time and welcome to the show.
Hey, Ashton, thanks so much for having me. Glad to be here.
You're very welcome. I'm excited for this discussion, and I'd love to kick it off with just starting with a little bit of your background on how you got into blockchain first and how that led to you joining the CoinFlip project.
hmm So I went to school at Vanderbilt, and when I was in school in college, late 2014, early 2015, I started getting into Bitcoin. I was fascinated by the whole thing. I had a friend, one of my really good friends from high school, growing up in Chicago suburbs, who just bought. He was a big Bitcoin guy too, but he bought a couple ATMs, just two or three, and he called me and we were talking about Bitcoin, and then we eventually just teamed up to get all these ATMs on the ground and get CoinFlip running. So we've been in this space almost 6 years now, and there's so much fascinating things going on, and you really do learn something new every day in this space. Just when you thought you knew everything, I'm sure you know how that goes.
Yeah, well, it's a fast-paced industry, and especially if you've been around for 6 years, you've probably seen drastic changes, and it's accelerating. It seems to be quicker than ever. So hopefully that is in CoinFlip's favor. If you could just dive into a little bit on, what is CoinFlip? What makes CoinFlip unique? How has the team differentiated itself from other Bitcoin ATM operators throughout the States?
So, like I said, CoinFlip started in 2015, and the reason we started CoinFlip was we saw this big problem where it was actually tough to get Bitcoin, and in many ways it still can be to buy Bitcoin. And the thing is, 20 to 25% of Americans are unbanked or underbanked, which a lot of people may not know. So many Americans rely on cash in the cash economy um, to participate, in normal life. And I think Bitcoin, one thing that I was really attracted to is it really can be a democratizing force. And I think, if you don't own Bitcoin in a way, you will be left behind. But there was this issue of how hard it is to get Bitcoin, especially if you don't have a bank account or if you're unbanked or if you just want to buy $50, $100. So we saw the need for the ATMs, and we saw all these unbanked and underbanked communities who were kind of being left out of this financial revolution that was supposed to be a democratizing force. So that's why we went the ATM route instead of the exchange route. And I'm proud of the whole industry in general. I don't know if you look on Coin ATM radar, but I think there's been more ATMs put down in the past 6 months or a year than in like the past 4 years combined before that. So the industry is blowing up. I think there's a lot of great guys in the industry. Some of the things that I think sets CoinFlip apart is our 24/7 customer support. We charge the lowest fees as well. And back to that customer support, and we have over 1,000 ATMs in the U.S., 43 plus states, and a lot of these people who are going to the ATMs are beginning investors. They want to get into Bitcoin, but they might need more support, more customer service than someone who's just going on, someone who's been doing this, for 5 or 6 years. So that 24/7 customer support, we're really proud of. We don't use any call centers. We don't outsource any of that. All our support reps are in-house employees, and we take that very seriously, and we're very proud of that.
That's a great backstory, Ben, and it's a true entrepreneur journey when you personally have a problem and you go and create the solution, and now 5 years later you have a giant operation with 1,000 plus ATMs. So that's truly a great entrepreneurial story. And it's interesting that you mentioned over 25% of Americans are either underbanked or unbanked, and you hear that stat a lot in developing countries, and how most of the world is unbanked, but you don't really think to look inside of the United States, and the fact that it actually is and was hard to get Bitcoin throughout the States. And I know that the regulatory laws are changing, hopefully in favor, and that you and the CoinFlip team have been working on that in California and through federal regulations as well, to make it more available. Can you talk about that battle that you've been fighting and the progress that you've made in terms of what's happening in California?
So in California specifically, I mean, we work at the federal level too. For instance, Congressman Ro Khanna, I think he's very well educated on blockchain and Bitcoin, and I know he's very interested in fintech, and I think he's going to do great things for the industry in the future. But in terms of California at the state level, I mean, California is so important. What happens in California usually starts happening at the rest of the country. So we've been working in California for over 2 years with both the regulators and the legislative body, the General Assembly. Majority Leader Ian Calderon has been very plugged into the Bitcoin space. We've worked on a bunch of bills there. You know, versions change. There's the budget coming up, but basically, what it's coming down to now is that the Department of Business Oversight, who's the regulatory body there, is actually going to double in size, and it's going to become a consumer protection and financial innovation agency. And part of that process is they're going to require unregulated financial products, not just crypto, but including crypto companies like ours, register with the state and have some basic safeguarding requirements. And we think this is very important because it keeps bad actors out, which legitimizes the industry. You know, if someone's buying Bitcoin for the first time, imagine if they get ripped off by, you know, an ATM machine or something else. You know, we have a interest in making sure that everyone's playing by the rules, protecting consumers. We want this to be a good experience for people. And I think a lot of Bitcoin people sometimes fear the government, but as long as, you know, the legislators and regulators are getting educated on the issue, I think a lot of them want to do the right thing. You know, they're pro-innovation. They want jobs in their space. They don't want to lose the crypto market to China or Asia or other areas. So, you know, California, we've been working with them for 2 years. There's change in the beginning of 2021. There's going to be some regulatory changes, such as the registration, consumer protection, and basically the whole Department of Business Oversight is getting revamped. But, you know, regulation can help the industry, but you want it to be pro-innovation. That's the pro. You know, regulation that isn't pro-innovation is bad. Regulation that protects consumers but is pro-innovation, like what they're doing in California, I think, you know, is really great.
Yeah, I think it's a great step in the right direction. As you mentioned at the beginning of the interview, the people that, you know, aren't holding Bitcoin or don't learn about it could easily be left behind. And that's not just people that are working every day. That's the regulators and, you know, the people that are driving the fintech industry. Because this is a global industry, if there's any regulatory blocks, people can just go internationally. And with a global currency, really, it's easy to move locations when everything's online. So that's really interesting.
Because in the past, when companies went, you know, offshore, it was because they wanted to save taxes and stuff like that. Whereas now, some companies are being forced offshore not because they don't want to, you know, cheat on taxes or anything like that. They're getting forced offshore just because there's no clear regulatory framework in the U.S. I mean, you've probably seen it firsthand. What a lack of regulatory clarity and that uncertainty can be very bad for business and for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, well, hopefully all of this regulatory movement, you know, moves forward at a quick pace. I did see the recent news as well in Wyoming about crypto banks and more regulatory, you know, environments for what used to just be cryptocurrency exchanges now turning into sort of full banks. So do you see this Californian laws that are being put in 2021 as, you know, a trickle effect to move into the other larger states throughout America pretty quickly?
I think so. And I think a lot of states, I mean, California, a lot of people follow the lead of California, but at the other side of things, regardless of what California does, no state wants to be left behind from this, you know, crypto boom. Like the next Apple, the next Amazon, you know, those sorts of companies are going to be blockchain and crypto companies, right? Maybe not in the next year, but in the next 3 or 4 years, 100%. I think, you know, you will see crypto companies be on par with, you know, the big companies that you're used to hearing, like Apple, Facebook, Google.
Yeah, super interesting. And 2020 has just been a super interesting year overall, with the volatility in the markets, Bitcoin going down, but then also going up and being one of the best performing assets. How has CoinFlip fared throughout 2020, and has it been positive, with all of this, word about Bitcoin coming back up? Has that really helped you, or did it also hurt because of the pandemic?
So I think the pandemic overall has a lot of people anxious. A lot of people are being squeezed. A lot of people are being hurt financially. Especially a lot of my friends in the restaurant business, have been hurt very hard. But overall, we've been very lucky in that I think people are looking at Bitcoin as a safe haven asset, right? It bottomed out, I believe, in March or April, but it's up what 3x since then. It's been by far the
Hmm.
best performing asset. And I think Bitcoin, like everyone used to think, oh, it's uncertain, it's volatile. Like it was considered a risky investment before, but now with the uncertainty with COVID and other things, in a way, at least to me personally, Bitcoin feels like a safer and more stable investment than a lot of traditional
Hmm.
investments that I would have thought were safer 2 or 3 years ago. Like I
Hmm.
think the whole market dynamic has just changed, and Bitcoin is the safe haven asset. It's a stable asset. It's what you invest in, not just in good times, but in times where there's uncertainty.
Hmm. Yeah, well, let's hope that equals continued growth for CoinFlip. And
One
besides, oh,
that I
go ahead.
just thought of the top of my head was like I know wealth inequality has always been a big issue, but think about how much wealth inequality there will be
Hmm.
if certain people are shut out of the Bitcoin market.
Hmm.
That's why I think the ATMs are very important because if Bitcoin goes up a lot in price, like me and it's going to, we're obviously believers. You want to make sure everyone at least has the chance to buy it and be part of that, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's a currency for the people. So yeah, so with CoinFlip moving forward, I'm guessing that it's going to continue to expand and grow. And besides working with the regulatory bodies, what are the company's plans for the next throughout 2021 and beyond?
So obviously, we want to put down more ATMs. We want to get Bitcoin to as many people as possible. There's still about 6 or 7 states we need to break into. So we are working on we want everyone to be within a 10-minute drive of a CoinFlip ATM.
Mm.
We're going to continue working with regulators, both at the state and the federal level. We don't want the U.S. to lose to other countries. And last but not least, education, whether that's
Mm.
education of consumers, education of regulators, education of other stakeholders. We're really focusing on that. We're part of the Blockchain Advocacy Coalition in California, which educates people all the way from consumers to regulators to trade groups. I think that's very important. I mean, once someone learns about Bitcoin, I've never met anyone who doesn't believe in it or like it. To the
Hmm.
fact that people don't like Bitcoin is because they don't know about it. Don't haven't been educated on it. I think it's it's such a common sense solution to whether it's the inefficiency of the current financial system, whether it's the fact
Hmm.
that the current financial system leaves certain people out, whether it's just the fact that everything is so global and mobile. And think about how easy it is me to send you Bitcoin without having to mail a check or go into a bank or hey, it's Saturday, the bank's closed.
Hmm.
I think that like in the long term, just obvious that Bitcoin's going to, I mean, it has succeeded, but that it's here to stay. It's going to succeed.
Hmm.
And as you've been following the industry, like this is only the beginning. Like you
Hmm.
talked about the banking developments in Wyoming. Like there's still so many, DeFi, banking, crypto lending. There's so many cool fields. Like a lot of work is going on behind the scenes, but we haven't seen maturing yet fully. And that's what I'm really looking at too. I think these next 3, 4 years are going to be so exciting.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's looking good, and I'm hoping that translates to for you guys to growth in CoinFlip as well. And we're running out of time, Ben, but if the viewers are looking to learn more about CoinFlip, about the ATMs, or to get educated, as you said, what's the best way for them to learn more?
Okay, so coinflip.tech, you can look for all of our ATMs. Hopefully, one is within a 10-minute drive of your house, and if it's not, hit us up on Twitter and let us know so we can put one down. Um, we'll do a discount code for the show if anyone's listening. the discount code will be CoinFlip30. It'll be 30% off. My Twitter is Ben CoinFlip, so follow us there. Check out our website, and we'd love to hear from everyone. And we're thankful for having us on.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. And I will leave those links to all of that in the description box below for the viewers. Thanks so much for your time. All the best with CoinFlip moving forward, and let's follow up in the near future.
Thanks so much, Ashton. Appreciate it.